this is nice. Girl, this all this is you right here? Okay. They don't smell like roaches in here or nothing. This is so nice. And look at this. Girl, how you get sparkles in the back of an animal? What is this, a cat?
So I wanted to do a video today about legal immigration and illegal immigration, and how, yeah, one is legal, one isn't, or whatever, but effectively they have some of the same asymmetrical benefits regardless of whatever the status is. And let me break this down. I was actually thinking to myself, I was feeling up and I was looking over and I was seeing another driver, and you know, he was happy, enjoying himself. He was talking on the phone with his family. I'm not sure whatever country he was from, but he was speaking in his home language. And I was thinking to myself, you know, we're both going to get on the road here. We're both going to be driving and doing whatever we're going to be doing out here on the road. And basically I thought about it. I said, you know what? If this guy gets into an accident and I get into an accident, we're going to have completely different results. He has an option to exit. I don't. I have to stay here. I have to put up with the consequences of whatever the heck happens after this when it comes to civil judgment, when it comes to levies. He can just go back home and just say, you know what, I tried and it didn't work. And, you know, obviously I'm a truck driver, but this is bigger than just me driving a truck. This is just in general, whether it's just business or anything, that flexibility doesn't exist. I'm just noticing it because I'm out here on the road. But that asymmetric move is there as an option. It basically works as a exit hatch. Something that I don't have, and something that most Americans don't have. And this is what I want to talk about today in this video. You know, the whole framework, when we look at immigration, it seems to me that it's based on this idea that immigrants want to come here because this is the best country on earth. The culture is there for everyone to learn. They'll be enlightened. That's the whole kind of concept. The concept is based off of nobody ever wants to leave this place. If you get in, you're lucky. You'll always want to come back. When in reality, we know that a lot of these immigrants eventually want to go back home. They want to retire. They have no interest to live here full term for the rest of their life in a lot of cases, not at all. So it seems silly to have this idea that the framework of immigration is based off the fact that somehow this is the land of milk and honey, when in all reality this is just a utility for the most part, a functional utility to get the job done by any means necessary. So in essence, the American is stuck in the system for the most part. They are fully traceable, their credit's tied, and their wages can be garnished at any time, assets can be seized, and they really can't escape a civil judgment for the most part. At the end of the day, it has to be dealt with. Imagine if I go to Russia and I start a trucking company and it collapses, I can just fly home to Florida and just say, oh well. That's basically what the immigrant here can do in America. So if you actually think about it, it's sort of absurd. The legal or illegal immigrant, if they finally do exit, have no wage garnishment, no asset seizure if they don't keep assets here, and the judgment becomes practically irrelevant if they do not return. Now, when I say this, it's basically if this is a catastrophic judgment, meaning if they're caught with massive amounts of civil liability, the whole idea of them going home becomes a great idea. again, they can go back to their home country, live life normally, and just basically say, hey, I tried, it didn't work, and just kind of go back to normal. Once they leave, there's basically no wages for the U.S. to garnish, no U.S. bank accounts to freeze, no property to lien, and the U.S. cannot force their home country to enforce a judgment in most cases that are civil. So basically, an immigrant can walk away clean in real life terms, even though the judgment still exists on paper. And that is the whole thing I'm trying to draw out for you. The American cannot escape the system. The judgment follows the American everywhere. Again, the accounts get hit, credit gets destroyed. The IRS sees everything. There is literally no exit for the American. And if you really think about it, it's insane. Nobody is crossing oceans because they can't wait to eat nachos under a fluorescent light, trying to understand the mystery of McDonald's, okay? This whole culture concept of this whole idea of coming here is ridiculous. And if you look at most legal writing, banking, policy language in the US, again, it assumes permanent settlement. That's why every answer you see online sounds like, but your credit will be ruined, but you will lose your status. But for a huge portion of migrants, the U.S. isn't a home. It's basically a platform. It's a place to earn a stronger currency. It's a place to extract capital and move it somewhere else, somewhere where it can fit culturally and more sound to their original environment. The U.S. sounds like a giant financial port, not a homeland for a lot of these people. The U.S. system treats residency like a life-term contract. Build credit, buy property, pay taxes, retire here. But again, that's assuming they want to stay here for the rest of their life. If everything comes down, and let's not even go into the business model of things if they go bankrupt. Let's just say in general the American economy tanks, or it goes down, or we have some kind of internal issue. They're gone. So they don't even need to have a civil action. They could just have a action of just having a better quality of life if the United States goes down. That's another thing people don't talk about. So again, if you really look at it, this is utility-based immigration and participation. When an immigrant sees the U.S. as a utility, a job is just a currency to convert dollars into home country capital. A loan is a short-term leverage tool. U.S. credit, foreign asset. Residency just becomes a logistical convenience for travel, access, and banking. Citizenship is optional, not aspirational. With that kind of mindset, when your cost of living and social capital are stronger somewhere else, you eventually will leave. And this is why this makes the system so uneasy, because the American framework needs people to stay long enough to pay taxes, to keep money circulating domestically. But when a person treats the U.S. as a temporary extraction to just move capital out of, it doesn't really create wealth internally. So let's just be honest here, right? Let's just get to the honest bottom line. For millions of people, the United States isn't really the dream. It's just simply a machine, a utility that's useful. You plug in, you extract value, you disconnect when it stops serving you. If an immigrant gets hit with a multi-million-dollar civil judgment, they can just leave. That simple. They can press the eject button. The 1% and the immigrant have the same tool, actually, in its mobility. Both the global elite operate by the same core advantage. They can move across systems instead of being locked inside one. They use offshore trust, international banking, tax residency games. This is what the 1% can do. They can shift money, they can shift assets, and even citizenship. They operate in multiple jurisdictions, so no single country fully owns or controls them. That is what the upper 1% does in America. And immigrants basically have that same advantage. They use physical mobility instead of financial mobility. They can leave the US completely if things get out of hand, one way or the other. If they can live and earn in one system and exit in another, that's freedom. And guess what? Their liabilities do not follow them once they leave. They basically have a good story to tell back home. Now, when we look at the trapped American middle citizen here, the trapped American, they have one citizenship. That's it. One tax system. Where else are they going to go? And one jurisdiction. They don't have the freedom. They don't have the movement. They have to deal with the currency. And they have to deal with the enforcement network. It's just that simple. They're fully tied to credit, payroll, and all other points of data entry that's done domestically. They're in the stationary asset base, the system that can extract from them. The rich and immigrants have mobility and optionality. The middle class has none. They are trapped. And that's what forces somebody to play the game a little bit more seriously than the other. Not to say that they can't play the game seriously as their counterparts, but it is what it is. The 1% with mobility, they get dual citizenships, they get tax havens. And again, this is kind of the same thing that the mobile immigrant has. Even though they are living here in America, they still have options. They can go back home, they can retire, they can build their house, and again, they can move capital back to their home country. 1% moves through financial borders, and the immigrant moves through physical borders. Now, the citizen moves nowhere. Nowhere. What do they get told? They're told, stay put. They're told, build credit. That's what they're told. Americans are socially told to basically stay in one place. School never teaches offshore banking. It never teaches jurisdictional law. The passport system and the tax system are designed to make leaving costly for the average American. And that's the difference between the American that's born here. It's expensive for them to leave. They have skin in the game. A lot of times they have nowhere else to go unless they're the 1%. And here's the deal. The 1% and the immigrant both understand optionality. The immigrant has it by default. The American citizen gets it when he becomes wealthy and has assets and needs to be portable. But if you sit down with almost any working class immigrant, not all, but a lot of them, you'll hear some version of, I'll stay until the kids finish school. I'm trying to build a house back home. Once I saved enough, I'm going back. You'll hear that if you just have a conversation. I've heard it many times. It's not resentment towards the US, it's just rational life planning. You can't blame anybody for being rational. They see the US as a place to work, not a place to die. And that's why this mindset is so common. The cost of aging here is insane. Medical bills, insurance, rent. A fixed income can't cover it. Retiring in your home country means comfort and a dignity for a fraction of the price. See, the American, they have to deal with that inflation. They're going to have to deal with the $4,000 a month apartment. They don't. And that's the cultural gravity. People want to grow old where the language and the food and humor and rhythms feel natural again. I mean, if we're honest, we already know that go to any Western Union, you'll see the line of people sending money back home. And what we're seeing today is basically the same thing as Forex trading, somebody or a stock trader that arbitrages currency An immigrant does the same thing. The only difference is that it's their labor. But it's the same logic as the Forex trade. A Forex trader buys currency low, sells it high in another market. And a immigrant buys US dollars with their labor. They sell it to those dollars back home by converting them into housing, land, or family stability. Both are exploiting price differentials between two different economies. It's just that simple. But effectively, it's the same thing. This is why they can't be tied down. Just like the trader who can't get emotional about one stock or one currency, the worker can't get sentimental about one country. If the US market stops giving good yield, wages stagnate, cost of living explodes, and the legal risk rises, so they move to another market. Being mobile is the strategy. It's just rational. If a trader can diversify across markets, a mobile worker diversifies across jurisdiction. The goal is always the same: protect capital, maximize conversion value, and stay liquid. Immigrants are the real Forex traders. They don't trade in currencies like on a screen like a stock trader, but they do trade labor. So that's why it only makes sense for them to be mobile, have optionality. It's not a bad thing, it's just options. And options is essentially freedom. And all I'm saying is that if one group basically has a standard set of mobility where another group doesn't, what does that say? So that's why I want us to make this YouTube video. What do you guys think? Am I on to something? Am I missing something? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.